In the fall of 1847, Abraham Lincoln left his home in Springfield, Illinois, and rode 90 miles to the Coles County Courthouse in Charleston. The mud roads and long sweeps of prairie grass were familiar terrain. For over 2 decades, he worked as a traveling lawyer, servicing up to 15 counties of the 8th Judicial Circuit that spread across central Illinois. Most communities did not have a local attorney, so Lincoln and others traveled to handle legal disputes. In the spring and again in the fall, Lincoln rode over 500 miles from county seat to county seat to get to each consecutive court session. Lincoln was a household name to the people of Illinois, since he was out on the road amongst them almost 8 months out of the year.
We'll have Judge Davis tell us about that one.
That's probably a good thought, Mr. Lincoln.
Well, one gets the sense that if anybody met Abraham Lincoln, it left a lasting impression.
No matter where he went, people would notice him because of his physical height.
6 feet 4 inches tall and gangly, probably in an ill-fitting suit.
He was tall, bony, and usually looked a little disheveled, so he was not the epitome of the well-tailored attorney.
In October of 1847, Lincoln arrived at the courthouse in Charleston, Illinois, to represent a wealthy farmer from Kentucky named Robert Matson. Lincoln asked the court to return assets to Matson that the state had taken into possession. The property in question was a female slave named Jane and her 4 children.
The Matson case is probably the ultimate historical irony. Here you have the great emancipator defending a slave owner who's trying to recover the services of his slaves.
What is Lincoln, the anti-slavery man, doing defending a slave owner? It's just the way that things shook out, and that he was certainly not above defending slave owners, although he usually didn't do it. He didn't defend very many.
As a lawyer trying to make a living, you can't wait around and say, oh, what's history going to say about me if I take this side of the case?
The wonderful thing about Lincoln as a lawyer is he epitomizes what being a lawyer is about, and that is you should represent your client's point of view and let the court decide the morality of that point of view.
We can't let this happen. I've got buyers for these Negroes in Kentucky.
This family was property of Robert Matson's, and that's the way he would have had to look at it. I'm not one of those people who believe that Lincoln was waiting in the wings his entire life, waiting to emancipate the slaves. I don't see him that way. He was someone who wanted to see slavery end, but he was more than willing to see it end gradually, and actually preferred that it end gradually because he felt it was in the best interest of Black people and that it was in the best interest of the South as well.
Judge Treat ruled in favor of Jane Bryant, and she and her children were set free.
Having to handle cases like the Matson case, these were the central issues that Lincoln knew could break the entire society. They could dissolve the Union, and this was the fear throughout the 1850s, that this kind of issue could ruin the country that he had grown up reading about and loving.